Since the dawn of consciousness, humanity has looked to the heavens. We have charted the silent celestial dance of planets and stars, seeking patterns, meaning, and a reflection of ourselves in the cosmic tapestry. From this ancient gaze, astrology was born, a language of archetypes, destinies, and cosmic influence written in the sky at the moment of our birth. I am a Leo, we say, passionate and proud. She is a classic Virgo, analytical and meticulous. This language of the zodiac, the 12-fold path of the sun, has become a ubiquitous part of our modern culture. It offers a framework for identity, a promise of understanding our strengths, our weaknesses, and our fate. It is a map of the self, handed to us by the cosmos. But what happens when this celestial map encounters another, vastly different path? A path that looks not outward to the stars, but inward, to the deepest recesses of the mind. A path that questions the very nature of identity, challenges the concept of a fixed self, and offers a radical blueprint for liberation from suffering. This is the path of the Buddha. Buddhism, born from the profound awakening of one man, Siddhartha Gautama, posits that our suffering arises not from planetary alignments, but from our own attachments, aversions, and ignorance. Its ultimate goal is not to understand a pre-written destiny, but to unwrite it, to dissolve the very ego that clings to labels like Leo or Virgo, and awaken to a state of boundless freedom and compassion. On the surface, these two systems, astrology and Buddhism, seem fundamentally incompatible. One defines the self, the other seeks to dissolve it. One looks to external forces for answers, the other insists that all answers lie within. And yet, the story is not so simple. Today, we embark on a deep and expansive journey to explore the complex, often contradictory, and surprisingly interwoven relationship between Buddhism and the zodiac signs. We will ask the hard questions. Is belief in astrology a form of attachment that hinders enlightenment? Can these ancient systems coexist? Or could the language of the stars, when viewed through a Buddhist lens, become a skillful means, a tool for self-awareness and a stepping stone on the path to liberation? This is not a search for simple answers. It is an exploration of two of humanity's most enduring quests for meaning. Our journey begins where it must, with the stars themselves. Part 1. The Celestial Blueprint. Understanding Western Astrology. To understand the potential conflict and harmony with Buddhism, we must first appreciate the foundation of Western astrology. It is far more than the generalized sun sign horoscopes found in the back of magazines. At its heart, it is a complex and nuanced system of cosmic symbolism. The tradition, as most of us know it, is a syncretic blend of Babylonian astronomy, Egyptian mythology, and Greek philosophy. The Babylonians, meticulous observers of the heavens, were the first to divide the sky into 12 equal parts, creating the zodiac. They noticed that as the sun traveled through these celestial sectors over the course of a year, it seemed to correlate with the changing seasons and agricultural cycles on Earth. As above, so below. Your sun sign, the one you typically identify with, is simply the constellation the sun was positioned in from the perspective of Earth on the day you were born. But this is just the beginning. A complete natal chart, or birth chart, is a snapshot of the entire solar system at the precise moment and location of your first breath. It maps the positions of the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and all the planets, each residing within a specific zodiac sign and a specific house, which represents a different area of life. The system is built on a beautiful internal logic of archetypes. The 12 zodiac signs are divided into 4 elements. Fire signs, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, associated with passion, energy, inspiration, and spirit. They are the creators, the pioneers, the life force of the Zodiac. Their challenge, from a spiritual perspective, can be impulsiveness, ego, and a fiery temper that can burn themselves and others. Earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, representing substance, practicality, and the material world. They are the builders, the stabilizers, the ones who give form to ideas. Their potential pitfall is rigidity, stubbornness, and an over-attachment to material possessions and security. Air signs, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, governing the realm of the intellect, communication, and social connection. They are the thinkers, the communicators, the networkers who weave the fabric of society. Their shadow can manifest as being detached, indecisive, and lost in abstract thought, disconnected from the heart and body. Water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, connected to the world of emotion, intuition, and the subconscious. They are the healers, the mystics, the dreamers who plumb the depths of human feeling. Their challenge often lies in being overwhelmed by emotion, poor boundaries, and escapist tendencies. The core premise of astrology is that these cosmic energies imprint upon us at birth, creating a sort of default setting for our personality, our inclinations, our strengths, and our challenges. Your birth chart is presented as a map of your soul's potential. It is a tool for self-understanding. It says, "This is who you are. This is the hand you were dealt." It provides a narrative, a cosmic reason for our tendencies. I am possessive because I am a Taurus. I am overly emotional because my moon is in Cancer. In this, it can be deeply comforting. It normalizes our struggles and celebrates our strengths as part of a grand celestial design. But it is here, in this very statement, "This is who you are," that we find the first and most profound point of divergence with the path of Buddhism. For the Buddha's central insight was a radical refutation of any fixed, permanent self. Part 2. The Unbecoming, Core Tenets of Buddhist Philosophy. If astrology provides a map of the self, Buddhism provides the tools to deconstruct the map maker, the map, and the very ground on which it is drawn. The journey of Buddhism is not one of self-discovery in the conventional sense, but of self-inquiry that leads to a profound unbecoming. To grasp this, we must understand a few core principles that form the bedrock of Buddhist thought, beginning with the story of the Buddha himself. Prince Siddhartha Gautama was born into a life of luxury, shielded from all forms of suffering. But when he finally witnessed the inescapable realities of human existence, sickness, old age, and death, he was shaken to his core. He realized that no amount of material wealth or fleeting pleasure could protect him from this fundamental dissatisfaction, this pervasive unease the Buddha called dukkha. Dukkha is often translated as suffering, but it's a much richer concept. It's the background hum of anxiety, the feeling that things are never quite right, the stress of holding on to things that are destined to change. It is the friction of existence. His quest for an end to dukkha led him to years of extreme asceticism and then finally to a middle way between indulgence and denial. Seated in meditation under a Bodhi tree, he turned his attention inward and through a profound state of concentration experienced a series of transformative insights. He woke up, which is what the word Buddha means. He awoke to the nature of reality. What he discovered is encapsulated in the Four Noble Truths. The truth of suffering, dukkha. Life as it is ordinarily lived is characterized by dissatisfaction and stress. The truth of the origin of suffering. The cause of this suffering is craving, attachment and aversion, our relentless desire for things to be other than they are. The truth of the cessation of suffering. It is possible to end this suffering completely. The truth of the path to the cessation of suffering. The way to end suffering is to follow the Noble Eightfold Path. This path is a practical, ethical, and mental training program for liberating the mind. It is not a set of divine commandments, but a prescription for healing. And central to this healing are three insights that stand in stark contrast to the astrological worldview. These are the three marks of existence. Buddhism teaches that everything is in a constant state of flux. Nothing is permanent. Our thoughts, our emotions, our bodies, our relationships, the planets, the stars themselves, all are arising and passing away moment by moment. The astrological idea of a fixed personality imprinted at birth runs counter to this fundamental law. To cling to a static identity, I am a Scorpio, is to resist the natural flow of life, and according to Buddhism, this resistance is a primary source of our suffering. As we've seen, this is the friction that arises when our craving for permanence and pleasure collides with the reality of impermanence. Astrology can sometimes exacerbate this. If your horoscope predicts a bad day, you might experience anxiety and aversion. If it predicts a good day, you might cling to that expectation only to be disappointed. Buddhism suggests that peace is found not in getting what we want, but in radically changing our relationship with wanting itself. This is perhaps the most challenging and revolutionary of the Buddha's teachings. Buddhism posits that there is no fixed, independent, permanent self or soul at the core of our being. What we call me or I is, in reality, a temporary assemblage of 5 interconnected processes known as the 5 aggregates: the physical body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. This self is more of a process than a thing. It's like a river. You can point to the river, but the water that makes it up is constantly changing. The banks, the riverbed, everything is in flux. There is no static riverness. In the same way, there is no static you-ness. Now, consider the statement. I am a Capricorn, therefore I am disciplined and ambitious. From a Buddhist perspective, this is a profound case of mistaken identity. It takes a collection of temporary conditioned traits, ambition, discipline, and solidifies them into a permanent, independent entity, an I. It then attributes the cause of this I to an external source, the stars. Buddhism would argue that your ambition is not a fixed part of you. It is a mental formation that arises due to a complex web of causes and conditions: your upbringing, your culture, your past actions, your current thoughts. And because it arises, it can also cease. You are not your ambition. You are the awareness that can observe the ambition. This is the central philosophical chasm. Astrology provides labels for the self. Buddhism provides a path to see through the illusion of self altogether. One gives you an identity, the other offers liberation from it. Part 3. The Middle Way, Karma, Causality, and Buddhist Astrology. Given this profound philosophical divide, one might expect Buddhism to reject astrology outright, dismissing it as a worldly superstition, a distraction from the true path. And in some purist traditions, this is largely the case. The Buddha cautioned against fortune-telling and divination as wrong livelihood for monks, seeing it as a potential source of attachment and delusion. But Buddhism, in its 2,500-year journey across Asia, has never been a monolith. It has shown a remarkable ability to adapt and integrate with the cultures it encounters. And in the rugged, mystical highlands of Tibet, a unique and complex synthesis occurred, giving rise to what is known as Tibetan astrology. Tibetan astrology, a core component of Tibetan medicine and spiritual life, is not a single system, but a fusion of several powerful streams. The primary one is called Kartsi, or white astrology, which has its roots in the Indian astrological systems, and most importantly, the Kalachakra Tantra. The Kalachakra, meaning wheel of time, is a highly advanced and complex system of Vajrayana Buddhist teaching. It presents a vision of the cosmos where the external world and the internal world of the human body and mind are inextricably linked. The movements of the planets are seen as the outer manifestation of the subtle winds, channels, and energies within our own bodies. This system, like Western astrology, uses calculations based on planets and constellations, but its purpose is fundamentally different. It is not primarily used to define a personality or predict a fixed fate. Instead, its applications are deeply embedded in the Buddhist worldview. One of its key uses is for determining auspicious timing. A Tibetan astrologer might be consulted to find the best day for starting a long meditation retreat, beginning the construction of a temple, performing a spiritual ceremony, or even undergoing a medical procedure. The goal is to align one's actions with the prevailing cosmic energies to create the most favorable conditions for a positive outcome, much like a sailor uses knowledge of the winds and tides. The second major stream of Tibetan astrology is Yungtze, or elemental astrology, which is derived from ancient Chinese systems. This is where we find the familiar 12 animal signs, the rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, and so on, arranged in a 60-year cycle based on a combination of the animal and one of 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, or water. Again, while it may seem similar to the Chinese zodiac many are familiar with, its application is viewed through the lens of Buddhist philosophy. A person's birth year, animal, and element are not seen as a rigid cage of personality. Instead, they are said to reveal certain karmic predispositions. And this is the key that unlocks the entire puzzle: karma. In Buddhism, karma is not fate. It is not a system of cosmic reward and punishment meted out by a divine judge. Karma is simply the law of cause and effect. It means action. Every intentional action of body, speech, and mind plants a seed in our consciousness. Wholesome actions, motivated by generosity, kindness, and wisdom, plant seeds for future happiness and favorable conditions. Unwholesome actions, motivated by greed, hatred, and ignorance, plant seeds for future suffering and obstacles. From this perspective, a Tibetan birth chart is not a map of destiny. It is a karmic snapshot. It reveals the weather forecast of the karmic seeds that are most likely to ripen in this lifetime, based on actions from previous lives. Do you see the profound difference in orientation? Western astrology often leans towards determinism. You are this way because of the stars. Tibetan astrology leans towards causality and agency. You have these karmic tendencies. What are you going to do about it? The chart becomes a diagnostic tool. It might indicate a predisposition to anger, not as a fixed trait, but as a karmic obstacle that requires the specific antidote of patience and compassion practice. It might indicate a short life obstacle, not as a death sentence, but as a powerful impetus to engage in life-saving practices, such as saving the lives of animals, and to practice Dharma with utmost urgency. The focus is never on passive acceptance of fate, but on active, compassionate engagement with our karmic reality. The chart doesn't define you. It gives you your spiritual homework. It doesn't tell you who you are. It points to the work you need to do to become free. Part 4. The Skillful Astrologer, using the Zodiac as a tool for mindfulness. Let us propose a radical reframing. What if we approached our astrological chart not as a statement of fact, but as a series of questions? What if we treated it not as a life sentence, but as a personalized curriculum for our spiritual practice? Let's not ask, "Who am I?" Let's ask, what are the specific patterns of attachment and aversion that my particular combination of energies, as described by this archetypal language, makes me prone to? And what specific Buddhist tools can help me work with these patterns with wisdom and compassion? This approach shifts astrology from a passive tool of identification to an active tool of investigation. It becomes a mirror, reflecting our tendencies so that we can apply the Dharma to them more precisely. Let's walk through the Zodiac, sign by sign, and explore what this might look like in practice. For each sign, we will identify its archetypal energy, its potential shadow side from a Buddhist perspective, and a specific Buddhist practice or concept that can serve as a powerful antidote. Aries, the first sign of the Zodiac, the spark of fire that begins the cycle. Its energy is pioneering, courageous, impulsive, and direct. The Aries archetype is the warrior, the leader, the trailblazer who rushes into life with passion and enthusiasm. The great risk for the Aries energy is attachment to action for action's sake, impulsiveness, and egoic assertion. This can manifest as anger, impatience, and a lack of consideration for consequences. The unskillful Aries burns brightly, but can burn out quickly, leaving a trail of unintentional harm. This relates to the Buddhist concept of unwholesome mental states rooted in aversion or aggression. The antidote for Aries' shadow is found in the Noble Eightfold Path, specifically in right action and right effort. Before charging ahead, the mindful Aries can pause and ask, is this action coming from a place of wisdom and compassion, or from a reactive egoic impulse? The practice of mindfulness of the body is also crucial. By learning to feel the physical sensations of rising anger or impatience, the heat in the chest, the clenched fists, the Aries can learn to recognize the impulse before it becomes an action. This creates a precious gap of wisdom, a moment to choose a more skillful response. The warrior's energy is not suppressed, but harnessed and guided by wisdom. Taurus, the fixed earth sign, is about stability, sensuality, and substance. The Taurus archetype is the builder, the artist, the one who enjoys the simple, beautiful pleasures of the material world. Its energy is patient, grounded, and deeply connected to the five senses. The Taurian path to suffering is through clinging and attachment. This can be attachment to possessions, to comfort, to routines, and to opinions. This leads to stubbornness, resistance to change, and a possessiveness that can stifle themselves and others. When faced with life's inherent impermanence, the unskillful Taurus digs in its heels and suffers immensely. The direct medicine for Taurus is the deep, sustained contemplation of impermanence. By mindfully observing how everything, a beautiful meal, a feeling of security, their own body, is subject to change, they can loosen their grip. The practice of generosity, or dana, is also transformative. By actively giving away their time, energy, and even possessions, the Taurus directly counteracts the habit of hoarding and possessiveness. They learn that true security is not found in what they own, but in the richness of a generous heart. Gemini, the mutable air sign, is the master of communication, curiosity, and information. The Gemini archetype is the messenger, the storyteller, the eternal student with a restless, inquisitive mind that flits from idea to idea. Gemini's pitfall is a scattered mind, a monkey mind, on overdrive. This can lead to superficiality, inconsistency, and a form of anxiety born from mental overload. Their speech can become gossip or wrong speech. They can get so lost in the world of concepts and ideas that they become disconnected from their own heart and the present moment. The foundational practice of mindfulness of breathing is the perfect anchor for the windswept Gemini mind. By returning their attention again and again to the simple physical sensation of the breath, they train the muscle of concentration and find stillness amidst the mental chaos. The precept of right speech from the Eightfold Path is their specific ethical training. This means refraining from lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, and idle chatter. For a Gemini, practicing right speech transforms their greatest gift from a potential source of suffering into a powerful tool for connection and truth. Cancer, the cardinal water sign, governs the realm of emotion, nurturing, and home. The Cancerian archetype is the mother, the protector, the historian, who feels deeply and seeks to create security and belonging for themselves and their loved ones. Cancer's suffering arises from attachment to feelings, moods, and the past. They can be overly sensitive, taking things personally, and their protective instinct can become clinginess or defensiveness. They may retreat into their shell of resentment or self-pity when hurt. Their deep connection to the past can become an inability to let go. The key for Cancer is to learn to relate to their powerful emotions with wisdom. The Buddhist practice of observing feelings without identification is essential. They can learn to see their feelings as weather patterns, clouds passing through the vast open sky of their awareness. They are not the storm, they are the sky that holds the storm. The practice of loving kindness, or metta meditation, is also a powerful balm. By actively cultivating goodwill towards themselves and others, they strengthen their emotional resilience and transform their neediness into a boundless, unconditional compassion. Leo, the fixed fire sign ruled by the sun, is about creative self-expression, leadership, and the radiant heart. The Leo archetype is the king, the queen, the performer, who loves to shine and inspire others with their warmth, confidence, and generosity. The shadow of Leo is the ego, the concept of I am, in its most classic form. The need for recognition and praise can become an insatiable hunger. This can lead to arrogance, vanity, and a dramatic flair that demands constant attention. When their pride is wounded, the unskillful Leo can become tyrannical or deeply depressed. Leo's direct path to freedom is the profound contemplation of anatta, or no self. This doesn't mean they must extinguish their radiance, but rather investigate the I that wants to be seen. Who is it that needs this praise? By seeing that the self is a collection of temporary processes, the desperate need for external validation begins to fall away. True confidence arises, one that isn't dependent on applause. The practice of appreciative joy, or mudita, is also key. This is the practice of feeling genuine happiness for the success and good fortune of others. It is the direct antidote to the ego's jealousy and need to be the center of attention. Virgo, the mutable earth sign, is dedicated to service, analysis, and improvement. The Virgo archetype is the healer, the craftsman, the critic, who has a keen eye for detail and a deep desire to make things better, to bring order out of chaos. Virgo's potential for suffering lies in perfectionism, harsh self-criticism, and anxiety. Their desire to improve can curdle into a constant feeling that nothing is ever good enough, including themselves. This can lead to worry, judgment of self and others, and a paralysis by analysis that prevents them from acting. The most healing practice for the Virgoan tendency is self-compassion. This involves treating oneself with the same kindness and understanding one would offer a dear friend who is struggling. It's the recognition that being an imperfect, messy human is part of the shared human condition. This is complemented by the practice of radical acceptance, the willingness to see things exactly as they are in this moment without the constant need to fix or judge them. This doesn't mean passivity. It means that wise action can only arise from a clear, non-judgmental seeing of reality. Libra, the cardinal air sign, is the seeker of balance, harmony, and justice. The Libran archetype is the diplomat, the artist, the partner, who excels in social grace and has a deep appreciation for beauty and fairness. They thrive in relationship and seek equilibrium in all things. Libra's downfall can be indecisiveness and people-pleasing. In their desire to maintain harmony and avoid conflict at all costs, they can lose touch with their own needs and convictions. They can become codependent, superficial to keep the peace, and paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong choice. For Libra, the work is to find their center of gravity within, not in the approval of others. This involves cultivating saddha, often translated as faith or confidence. This is not blind faith, but a deep inner conviction in the path of Dharma and in their own capacity for wisdom. Mindfulness of intentions is also critical. Before agreeing to something or making a decision, the mindful Libra can pause and ask, "What is my true intention here? Is it to genuinely help, or is it to avoid disapproval?" This helps them act from a place of integrity rather than fear. Scorpio, the fixed water sign, is about depth, transformation, and power. The Scorpio archetype is the detective, the psychologist, the shaman, who is unafraid of the dark and has a magnetic intensity. They seek to penetrate beneath the surface of life and merge deeply with others. Scorpio's path to suffering is through attachment to control, obsessive thoughts, and intensity. Their powerful emotions can lead to jealousy, suspicion, and vengefulness. They can become secretive and manipulative, fearing vulnerability. They can get stuck in powerful emotional states, replaying hurts and betrayals over and over. The core practice for Scorpio is letting go. This is the conscious practice of renunciation, not just of material things, but of resentments, obsessions, and the need to control outcomes. Meditation on the foulness of the body or other charnel ground contemplations, while advanced, are traditional practices for cutting through intense attachment. A more accessible practice is forgiveness. By actively working to release the burden of grudges, both for others and for themselves, the Scorpio can transform their immense power from a destructive force into a profound capacity for healing and transformation. The Scorpion can become the eagle, soaring above the poisons of the mind. Sagittarius, the mutable fire sign, is the sign of exploration, philosophy, and freedom. The Sagittarian archetype is the adventurer, the philosopher, the teacher, who seeks truth and meaning by expanding their horizons, whether through travel, learning, or spiritual questing. The Sagittarian shadow is an attachment to freedom that can become a fear of commitment. Their love of big ideas can lead to dogmatism and a holier-than-thou attitude. Their blunt honesty can lack skill and become hurtful. They can suffer from a restless, grass is always greener syndrome, never content with where they are. The key for Sagittarius is to learn that true freedom is not found out there. but right here, in the present moment. Practices that ground them in the physical reality of the here and now, like walking meditation or mindful eating, are invaluable. They balance the tendency to live in future plans or abstract philosophies. The path of right understanding, the first step of the Eightfold Path, is their intellectual home. But it must be an embodied understanding, not just a collection of concepts. It involves seeing the Four Noble Truths not as a philosophy to be debated, but as a living reality to be experienced directly in their own lives. Capricorn, the cardinal earth sign, represents ambition, discipline, and mastery of the material world. The Capricorn archetype is the CEO, the statesman, the elder, who understands structure, sets long-term goals, and builds enduring legacies through patience and hard work. Capricorn's suffering often comes from attachment to success, status, and their public image. They can become workaholics, emotionally reserved, and overly serious. Their pragmatism can tip into cynicism, and they can fear failure to the point of being ruthless or joyless in their pursuit of goals. The most powerful and clarifying practice for a Capricorn is the contemplation of death. This is not morbid, it is life-affirming. By reflecting on the truth that death is certain and its time is uncertain, they are forced to ask, what is truly important? Is this relentless striving for status what I want to be doing with my precious human life? This contemplation reorients their immense discipline towards more meaningful spiritual goals. They also benefit from learning to balance effort with ease in their meditation and life, understanding that striving without rest leads to burnout, not enlightenment. Aquarius, the fixed air sign, is the sign of the humanitarian, the innovator, and the revolutionary. The Aquarian archetype is the visionary, the scientist, the eccentric, who is concerned with the collective good and future progress. Their mind is intellectual, idealistic, and often far ahead of its time. The Aquarian shadow is an attachment to ideals that can lead to detachment from individual, messy human emotion. They can be aloof, rebellious for the sake of it, and so fixed in their intellectual positions that they become rigid. They can love humanity in the abstract, but struggle with the person right next to them. The direct antidote for Aquarian detachment is the embodied practice of compassion, or karuna. This is the trembling of the heart in the face of suffering, the desire to alleviate it. It moves them from their head to their heart. While they naturally grasp the ideal of universal compassion, the practice is to apply it to specific, individual beings. The Buddhist concept of Sangha, or spiritual community, is also vital. It grounds their idealistic desire for community in the practical and sometimes difficult reality of relating to other imperfect people on the path. Pisces, the mutable water sign, is the final sign of the Zodiac, encompassing all that has come before. Its energy is compassionate, intuitive, and mystical. The Piscean archetype is the mystic, the poet, the dreamer, who feels a deep connection to the unity of all life and can struggle with the boundaries of the mundane world. The Piscean path to suffering is through escapism, poor boundaries, and a victim mentality. Overwhelmed by the harshness of the world and their own sensitivity, they may retreat into addiction, fantasy, or illusion. They can be impressionable and easily lose themselves in the needs and energies of others. For the boundless Piscean energy, the most crucial first step is building a strong foundation of mindfulness. Grounding practices, like mindfulness of the body and breath, are essential to create a container for their vast sensitivity. This gives them an anchor in reality. From this stable base, They can then cultivate the sublime state of equanimity, or upekkha. This is a balanced, spacious state of mind that can be with pleasure and pain, praise and blame, gain and loss, without being thrown off course. It is the ultimate boundary, not a wall that shuts others out, but an infinite, stable space that can hold everything with wisdom and a peaceful heart. We have travelled from the star charts of Babylon to the Bodhi tree in India, from the mountain monasteries of Tibet to the complexities of the modern spiritual search. We have seen how two vast systems of meaning, one written in the stars, the other in the heart, can seem to be in stark opposition. Western astrology, in its popular form, can foster attachment to a fixed identity, a belief in an external locus of control, and a sense of predetermined fate. These are concepts that the Buddhist path seeks to deconstruct as the very root of our suffering. The core Buddhist teachings of impermanence, no self, and karma place the power and responsibility for liberation squarely in our own hands, or more accurately, in our own minds. Yet, we have also discovered a bridge. We've seen how Tibetan Buddhism integrated astrological concepts not as a tool for fortune-telling, but as a diagnostic map of our karmic tendencies, a skillful means to guide our practice. And we have explored how we, as modern seekers, can adopt this same skillful approach. We can use the rich archetypal language of the Zodiac not to define who we are, but to illuminate how we get stuck. The chart can become a mirror reflecting our unique patterns of clinging to pleasure, resisting pain, and constructing a solid self where none exists. Ah, we can say, my Taurian tendency towards possessiveness is flaring up. This is a perfect opportunity to practice generosity and contemplate impermanence. My leonine ego is feeling bruised. This is a moment to investigate the I that feels hurt and practice appreciative joy for another's success. In this way, the star map doesn't tell you your destination. It simply highlights the specific terrain, the mountains of pride, the swamps of despair, the deserts of craving that you are likely to encounter on your journey. The map is the Zodiac, but the path, the vehicle, and the transformative power is the Dharma. Ultimately, both systems, at their best, are born from the same human yearning, the desire to understand our place in the cosmos and to live a more meaningful life. Astrology provides a poetic language for the questions. Buddhism provides a profound, practical, and liberating path to the answers. The stars may describe the weather you were born into, but they do not command the direction you sail. You are the sailor. Your intention is your rudder. Your mindfulness is your compass. And the shore you seek is not a distant star, but the luminous, boundless freedom that is your own true nature, waiting to be discovered right here, right now.